Professor Beetoven's first adventure, the Pacific Ocean. In today's story, we travel to the Pacific Ocean, the largest of the world's oceans. Barnacle Bill, the merchant marine, explains to Professor Beetoven and Tad the Frog, as well as their friend Katnap Cat, about the ocean's great size, its boundaries, and some interesting facts about its fish and its dangers. And now, CartoonGems.com presents Professor Beetoven's first adventure, the Pacific Ocean.
We must be near,
Professor Beetoven said to Tad.
My old friend Barnacle Bill told me his ship was anchored down at the harbor.
Sounds like we're getting closer, Professor Beetoven,
Said Tad.
You can't see a foot in front of you in this dense fog. Even a frog can get lost in the fog.
Welcome to the harbor, Professor Beetoven.
Katnap smiled.
I'm Katnap Cat. If you know me, then you must know Tad the Frog.
Professor Beetoven exclaimed as he pointed to Tad.
Well, I know you. Hi, Tad.
Katnap said as he waved hello.
Hi, Katnap.
Said Tad.
Great fishing pole you've got there.
Nice day for fishing. I think I had a fish biting. Bye.
Katnap said as he zipped away.
Do you think we'll surf some big waves in the harbor?
Asked Tad.
No, Tad. Harbors don't have big waves.
Professor Beetoven explained.
Ahoy down there! Is that you, Professor Beetoven?
Barnacle Bill waved from his boat in the harbor.
It certainly is, Barnacle Bill. It is I and my friend.
Professor Beetoven yelled, waving to Barnacle Bill.
Tad the Frog, Barnacle Bill.
Tad yelled up.
Tad the hog?
Barnacle Bill asked, curious.
Frog, frog, frog!
Tad shouted out.
Oh, frog!
Barnacle Bill exclaimed.
This fog is so thick you can't hear a thing. Well, then bring your friend Frog the Hog aboard, Professor.
I don't believe him.
Said Tad, frustrated.
Shh, Tad. He doesn't hear too well.
Professor Beetoven informed Tad.
Well, hello there, Professor, and Frog.
Said Barnacle Bill.
Say, he's no hog, Professor.
My name is Tad the Frog, Barnacle Bill.
Tad said, patient but frustrated.
Should have said that in the first place, son. Would have saved me a lot of voice.
Said Barnacle Bill.
Well, any friend of the Professor's, be he frog, hog, or log, is a friend of mine. Put her there, Tad, and welcome aboard.
Haven't seen you in a long time, Barnacle Bill. Where have you been sailing?
Asked Professor Beetoven.
Well, Professor, I've just sailed across the largest and deepest of all 5 oceans, the Pacific Ocean, covering 1/3 of the Earth's surface.
Explained Barnacle Bill. Excited, Tad exclaimed.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Whose nose is flat?
Barnacle Bill asked, confused. Tad repeated.
I said I didn't know that.
I didn't know that the Professor's nose was flat either, but let me get on with my story.
Said Barnacle Bill.
Did you know the Pacific Ocean's average depth is 14,000 feet? You've sure crossed an ocean when you've crossed the Pacific.
And it certainly doesn't live up to its name, does it, Barnacle Bill?
Asked Professor Beetoven.
No, indeed.
Exclaimed Barnacle Bill.
Volcanic islands, hurricanes, shark-infested waters. If you want to see a sea, this sea is the sea to see. Ahoy, look! It's a catfish. I mean a cat fishing.
Look, Katnap's bucket is full.
Tad said excitedly.
He must have caught all the fish in the ocean.
Albacore, herring, sardines, salmon, halibut, sole.
Katnap exclaimed excited.
Ooh, I just caught a big one. Might even be a shark. Bye. He can try to catch all the fish, but that'd be hard.
Smiled Professor Beetoven.
There are hundreds of fish species in the Pacific Ocean. That is, if we don't overfish.
Yes, I love fishing in the dark.
said Barnacle Bill.
A bit tricky, though.
Stop at any ports, Barnacle Bill?
Asked Professor Beetoven.
Sure did, Professor.
Said Barnacle Bill.
Lots of ports on this trip. Made almost every one from Tokyo to San Francisco, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Sydney, Manila.
It also has the international date line, right?
Asked Tad.
Date wine?
Barnacle Bill said, looking doubtful.
Why, I suppose some of the islanders make wine out of dates, son.
International date line, Bill. The international date line.
Professor Beetoven clarified.
In the middle of the ocean.
Oh, Professor, he never hears what I say.
Tad complained.
Year, Tad? No, just the day.
Barnacle Bill said matter-of-factly.
Same year on both sides of the international date line, except I suppose on New Year's Eve. Yep, it's quite an ocean, the Pacific.
It's a bridge between continents. Wouldn't you say, Bill?
Asked Professor Beetoven.
Well said, Professor.
Said Barnacle Bill proudly.
Always liked the way you spoke. You got away with words, you know. You use them like a captain uses the stars. We can cross the Pacific in a flash by airplane or rocket, but by sea is the way to see it, with the stars shining above and the great waves rising and falling, rising and falling.
Imagine
Tad said dreamily.
sailing using the stars, just me alone on the ocean. Golly, I'd like to sail it someday.
Can't sell it, my boy. It's not for sale.
Barnacle Bill proclaimed, amused.
It's free for one and all. But you sure can sail it, and I'll take you along any time you want. That is, once you learn how to speak clearly.
Oh, I give up, Professor. I give up.
Tad said exasperated.
I give up.
It's okay.
Katnap Cat comforted Tad.
I'll take you fishing. I had a good day.
And everyone had a hearty laugh at that.